And it stands to reason that when we're playing chess against each other, you're going to capture some piece or pawn of mine, and I'm going to capture some piece and pawn of yours. And that's called a trade. If you capture my pawn and I recapture your pawn, we traded pawns. When you just leave a pawn on free, or you leave your pawn and your opponent just captures it for free, well, that's not a trade. That's just a mistake. I made lots and lots and lots of mistakes. I blundered my queens, I blundered my rooks, I blundered my bishops. But I really like this idea of a trade. How many of you like trading? Like when they capture your bishop, you want to capture theirs, right? I like trading. But then I began to discover that trades aren't even. Even when they're even, they're not even. That some side usually benefits from a trade. So this began a very sophisticated idea. I began to get really better as is, instead of automatically trading, I began to think, who benefits? Who benefits? Let me give you an example. Let's suggest white opened with his queen pawn. The pawn in front of his queen is a queen pawn opening. He plays the move d2, d4. Black, he understands that in the opening you got to control the center, and he does the same move, d7, d5. Game's pretty even, right? Very even. White thinks to himself, what should I do next? What should I do next? And white thinks that he would like to put his e-pawn on the square e3, but before he makes that move, he hears the cry. One of his people in his army cries, if you play e3, says the bishop on c1, you block me. Move me out first. So white says, okay, I'll move my bishop out. And he plays the move bishop f4. Black says, okay, I'll develop my army. I'll play knight here. And white now plays the move e3, and the bishop says, thank you. Thank you, now I'm not blocked in. The bishop's on a good diagonal. So black gets the same kind of idea. He thinks that he would like to move his pawn to e6, but he doesn't want to block his light squared bishop. So he says, I'll bring out my light squared bishop, and I'll play the move bishop to g4. And yeah, and the black player pats himself on the back because he says it's even stronger than your bishop move because this bishop move attacks the queen. Okay. Yes, young man.
F3.
Yes. Now white has to decide how he wants to deal with this terrible threat. This terrible threat that his queen is going to be captured. Well, we can't allow that. So we have to decide what we want to do. Young man.
I'm just making sure we cannot take the bishop.
Right. First, we got to make sure that we can't take the bishop. And probably when I started, I would have taken the bishop. And then when the knight takes my queen, I would have cried, can I have my move back, please? Can I please have my move back? All right. Exactly at this moment, one of the things we like to do, there are elements in chess. There's space, time, force, pawn structure, and king position. What we like to do in the opening is make sure we're developing our pieces. And we do that using the time count. Exactly at this moment, the score in the time count is 1, 2, 3 for white. White has moved 3 of his units, in this case, 2 pawns and a bishop. The score for black is 1, 2, 3. So exactly at this moment, we could say pretty much that in the time count, it's even. Now, let's deal with the threat of this bishop attacking the queen. One thing we could do is we could block the bishop with our pawn.
That's a good move.
That's a good move in the sense, first of all, we don't lose our queen, yay. Our pawn does attack the bishop, so we win a tempo. That is to say, if the bishop doesn't move, we're going to take it, so the bishop had better retreat. Is there another way of dealing with this threat? How about an aria?
Bishop to e2.
Bishop to e2. This was the move I was looking for. Okay, so black threatened white's bishop, black threatened white's queen, blocked the threat, and offered a trade of bishops. So this is where I was starting my lecture about, is this idea of who benefits from the trade. Trades happen all the time in chess, so we have to carefully weigh who gets the better deal when we trade. So after the move bishop e2, white is threatening to capture black's bishop. That would win a piece. So black decides to trade bishops. Bishop takes e2. What should white play? What's a good move for white? Ariane again.
Take with the queen.
Queen takes. Queen takes e2. Now we stop. We stop for a moment. Is this an even trade?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. 3, 3, bishop, bishop. But
The developing white is
now ahead because we count. We made an even trade, but to whose advantage? We count the development. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. A moment ago it was 3 and 3. Now suddenly white has a lead in development. The trade of the bishops benefited white. In addition to now leading 4 to 2, white also has a threat, a double attack we would say. He's threatening to go queen b5 check to the king and also to capture this pawn on b7. We're going to go back. We're going to go back to this moment because in fact white does have all kinds of moves. Young man. Knight to e2 is another good move. But in this case, for example, let's go knight to e2, e7, e6. The score would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, more or less even in the time count. If we go back one more move, we could have played bishop e2, bishop takes e2, knight takes e2, not recapturing with the queen, but with the knight, and we still have an advantage for white. White's bringing out his pieces faster in the opening. Doing that, developing your pieces early in the opening is crucial to your becoming a master in chess. You start developing your pieces early and often, chess mastery will occur. Bishop attacks. White is not the most sophisticated player. He didn't play the best move, bishop e2, but he does play a very reasonable move. He blocks the threat to his queen by putting the knight in the way. Now, what's the score in the time count? 1, 2, 3, 4. For black, 1, 2, 3. Black to play. Black now does something that we would say is a mistake. He takes the knight. White recaptures. In the material count, what's the score? It's an even trade, right? But in this trade, who benefited the most? Young man, what do you think? Who benefited the most? Why? Why did white benefit more than black?
Because he has more pieces out.
Correct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. White benefited. So we're going to go back to this moment, and black realized what you just said. He didn't take the knight. Black decided to play pawn e6, and now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, white to play. Somebody give me a good suggestion for white's move. Young man. H3 is an excellent move. H2, H3. This type of move is called putting the question to the bishop. The bishop is asked the question, do you want to take my knight, yes or no? If you take my knight, we know who benefits. So black decides to retreat with his bishop. Exactly at this moment, what's the time count? Young man in the brown, yes.
5 and 4.
Yes. So this move was beneficial for white. White got to play the move H3 for free. H3 is a good move. I'd like to take the move H3 back for a moment and ask once again, what's another good move for white? Another good move. Young man.
F2.
Bishop E2. Bishop E2 is an excellent move, and we're going to go with that move for a moment. It develops a bishop, and it prepares to castle. Okay, now it's black to play. The score is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. Black needs to make a good move. Would this be a good move?
No.
2 thumbs down, right? Don't even think about it. You're taking a developed piece and retreating and making it an undeveloped piece. In fact, that would be a terrible move, and white would be very happy.
Or did he do that?
No,
Then you undevelop it.
because then you undevelop.
And it wasted a turn.
2 turns, in fact, because you moved it 1 time and you moved it 1 time back. At the moment, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you guys who are just playing a little while, you're playing the games, chess, you count when you capture your opponent's rook, you say, I won 5, and then he captures your bishop, you count that you're ahead in material, right? You do that.
Kind of doesn't matter.
I do that. It matters to me. I like to be ahead of material. So I count material, but I also count time. And now I would like to play the move bishop to d6. And let's think about this for just a moment. What's happening? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I consciously say to myself, oh, I like that move bishop to d6 because I develop a piece. Off the back rank, I'm prepared to castle. And check this out. I'm offering a trade. When I offer trades, I'm always carefully trying to weigh who benefits most. Arjan, yeah?
Black is better because he has more space.
Black is better because he has more space. Okay, the space count is something completely different from the time count. At the moment, this pawn has 2 in the space count. It attacks e5 and c5. This knight has 2, so that's 4. This bishop, 1, 2, 3, 4, so that's 8. Black has 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. A little bit more space. Yes, Arjan.
I saw 2 more. Bishop e5 and bishop a6.
Ooh, correct. So what does that mean?
White has more space.
Which means maybe black didn't have more space. Well, the queen at the moment, neither queen attacks the other player's space. Let's go back and think about the time count for a moment. Black has just offered a trade of bishops. Okay? Now, yes, young man. How many in the class would take the bishop? Raise your hand. Trade bishops. How many of you would castle? Pretty good. How many of you would drop the bishop back to g3? Okay. Those are the three primary moves we're going to consider for white. Castles, dropping the bishop back to g3, and trading bishops. Let's look at each move in turn and try to weigh the pluses and minuses. If I take the bishop, the queen recaptures, so it's even, right? Even trade. But who benefited? Black. Why did black benefit? Young man. He got to develop his queen, so the result was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. White, who had the first move, has fallen behind in the time count due to the trade of moving the bishop twice and bringing the queen in. Now, let's consider a different alternative. Castles. Black to play. Black decides to trade bishops. Okay? White has to recapture. And let's say black castles. Okay. Sorry? Who's ahead? That's a good question. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Same. So in that case of that trade, neither player really benefited, except black might try to make an argument. He might try to make the argument that these pawns are doubled, that the pawn structure has been weakened. That white's pawn structure, because it's been doubled, is weakened. That's an argument. May not be a good one, but that's what black could possibly say. Let's go back for just a moment. And we get this position, and white decides to play Arjan's move, bishop g3. Pretty good. Okay. It's true. It kind of does nothing. It loses a tempo. We drop back with our bishop, but we have a trappy idea. You do. What trappy idea do you think it is? But let's imagine that black says, I like to trade. Oh, I love trading pieces. Bishop takes g3. Black decides to trade. Now, a crucial opening principle, you should always remember this. A crucial opening principle is capture towards the what? Center. Capture towards. Did you all know that? It seemed like most of you did. That's pretty good. Capture towards the center. What does that mean? If white were to capture with his F pawn, would this be capturing towards the center? No. So capturing towards the center requires us to play H2 takes G3, following our principles. Now, something very sophisticated has just happened that I want to share my insights with. What's the time count? Count with me.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And for, oh, wait a minute, this isn't here. I cheated. I'm really good at cheating moves.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So you guys counted, and I tricked you, you guys counted 5 to 4. That's not the way I counted it. How did I count it? I counted it like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just like you did. But I counted one guy extra. I counted 6.
Oh,
I didn't move the rook. The rook has not moved, but yes, I consider the rook developed because the H file is now open. Ah, so that's a very sophisticated way of looking. In the first place, white does have a lead in the time count. Let's say white plays here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. White to play. Let's say white plays here. Okay. So at this moment, I say that white is ahead, really primarily thanks to this rook. Now again, black wants to trade pieces. Ooh, he loves to trade pieces. And the black player plays the move knight to e4. Okay? How many of you like this move? This is a good move, right? It brings, you jump into the center of the board, you develop your pieces. How many like this move? How many think, well, maybe it's not so good? Maybe, how many of you aren't sure? Not sure. Okay, I think it's a bad move. Let's analyze why. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to trade knights. Okay? So from the material count, it's an even trade. Correct? Now our knight has to move. Let's say I move my knight. I'm attacking the pawn on e4, and I'm attacking this bishop on g4. What should black do? What's a good move for black? Young man.
Bishop takes the bishop.
Yes, let's do it. So now, bishop takes the bishop, the queen takes the bishop. So once again, we have an even-steven trade in terms of material. But now, what's the count? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. Whoa.
Yay.
Whoa. How interesting is that? Even though the material's completely even, all that's happened is 3 sets of pieces have been traded, white has a huge, huge advantage in development. Now, black sees that this pawn is under capture. In fact, for free, in fact, if white was to play this, white would take away 1 in the development for black, 1 in the development, and there would only be 2 units from black's development. So, black, what should black choose? What can black do, young man? Yes, please. What's a good move for black? What's the move? F7, F5. Now, this does defend the pawn on e4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's actually funny. Black is lucky that a combination doesn't work. Does this move work? Queen h5 check, g6. Does sacrificing our queen work?
For a pawn? Yes.
Well, look ahead. Look ahead.
Yes. No. Yes. No.
Time out. How many say yes? How many says no? Okay. The people who said yes, I love your attitude. Great attitude. It's a no, though. We take the queen.
Take rook.
Correct. Remember a moment ago I said how the Grandmaster thinks that the rook is developed because of the open? This is an example. You take the rook. Now,
And then moves king and you get a queen trade.
exactly. He moves king. You take the queen. And boy, oh boy, are you a happy camper, because at the end of the whole deal, both guys got queens, both guys got rooks, and white got a pawn. That's brilliant. Except, the combination that was so beautiful has a flaw. Arjun, what's blocking the check to the king? This is called a skewer. If the king was forced to move, the rook would skewer the queen. But because black has, now it's really tragic. We gave up our queen for a rook and a pawn. Darn it, hate that. Let's go back.
So it's basically a risk.
Exactly. One of the things, how many of you have seen those chess books that say 100 winning tactics, 1,000 winning tactics, all of those tactics that win? How many of you have seen those books? Well, I used to read them and I didn't understand them. I thought they were unfair, because every combination in those tactics worked. A lot of the tactics that I played failed. So this is an example of a tactic that fails. Check here, thanks to that knight blocking move. Okay, let's go back for a second, and let's imagine, we're going to look at this move f5 in a moment, but let's imagine that black had played knight f6. Okay, so we're going to do the time count thing again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. What's wrong with that move? Why is that move a bad move? Isabella, do you know? Do you see a chance for white here? Kieran?
Well, it kind of actually does nothing.
Well, it does. That's what it does, but at least it protects it well. Aryan. Queen to b5 check. Check to the king, boom. And also winning a pawn. So black can block the check, but white will win a pawn. The reason why this threat exists is because white has a lead in development. When your pieces are better developed, you're going to have threats that your opponent will not have. Let's go back and see this move f5. After f5, protecting the pawn, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, white leads in development. We say, do not attack, do not attack unless you're ahead in development. If you have a lead in development, your chances of a winning attack are much better than when you have less development. So in this position, white feels justified in continuing and to develop his attack. What move should white play? Just some suggestions. Arjan.
I think he should still play queen h5, but he shouldn't take the pawn on a6.
He could go queen h5 check, provoke a weakness, and maybe just go like queen h6, for example. You'd be threatening maybe to go queen g7 and to take that rook. That's an idea. Oh, I'm sorry. Another suggestion for white. What's another good move? There's got to be lots of good moves. Come on, kids. Come on. Yeah?
Well, the same move as queen to b5.
Queen to b5. That's a pretty good move, putting pressure on this pawn. Maybe if you go queen b5, he could defend the pawn with a rook, or maybe he could defend the pawn with a queen. Not sure. That's a good move. I like both moves. Give me another move. Young man.
Pawn f3.
pawn f3. I like that move a lot. I like the move pawn f3 a lot. In the first place, I haven't moved that pawn before, so I'm developing. That helps my development. And if I force black to trade, I undouble my pawns, and it's now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. So I like that move very much. Thank you for that suggestion as well. Why did nobody suggest castles?
I did castle.
You didn't, I didn't hear you. But if you castled, this would be a very good move, because now it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. That would be a very good move. Long castles. But nobody suggested queen c4. How come? Ooh. How many of you like the move queen c4 now that you've seen it? Yeah, that's a pretty good move. Because what do we call this pawn, by the way? Do you know what the name of that pawn is?
A backward pawn.
It's backward, yeah.
Base pawn.
Base pawn, that was the word I was. This pawn on e7 supports the pawn on f5, and the f5 pawn supports the pawn on e4. So we would say that these pawns are kind of a chain. They're linked together. But this pawn supports the whole chain. If we remove this pawn, then this chain could all fall. So queen c4 attacks the base pawn. How could black defend the pawn? Young man. Yes?
Queen f6.
Queen f6. Queen f6 defends the pawn, as does queen e7. Queen f6, what would you do if you had black's position, white's position now? Yeah?
I don't know, but somehow I'm guessing that you're going to take the queen.
Take the queen? No. What?
Queen to c7.
Precisely, queen takes c7. At the end of all of this trading operations, white will end a pawn up. So, I will just make one other comparison, opening comparison. And the whole point of today's lesson is to make you think about something. Before you trade just queens or rooks or bishops or knights or pawns, before you make an even trade, we understand we're going to blunder pawns and bishops and rooks and knights, but before you make an even trade, ask yourself the question, who benefits? This opening has been played for hundreds and hundreds of years. At the moment, we have a king pawn opening, 1-to-1, right? And we're going to continue into what is called the Ruy Lopez. White brings out his knight, that's 2, attacks the pawn. Black defends the knight, so it's 2-to-2. Now, in the 15th century, from Spain, there was a Spanish priest by the name of Lopez. And the Spanish priest was credited with this very natural move, and it's called the Ruy Lopez opening. The Ruy Lopez. White's idea is he develops his bishop to attack the knight that is defending the pawn on e5, right? White started with the king pawn, he developed his knight. Now the score is 1, 2, 3-2. And black puts the question to the bishop. Pawn to a7, a6. Bobby Fischer, when he had this position as white, he mostly retreated his bishop. But at certain moments in his career, he captured the knight. And this was called the Ruy Lopez exchange variation. Black recaptured Now, what do we have? An even trade, right? Even trade. Very good. But who benefited the most from this trade? First, let's consider 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Ah, young man, what's your thought?
White benefits the most. White takes the pawn, up a pawn, and is up in position.
Okay, there you go. We have an Arjun, well, who benefits? Who's?
I think if white takes the pawn, I think black benefits more because of queen d4 and queen d5.
Right. So at this moment, at this exact moment, it's 2 to 3. Okay? So we would say that black is ahead in the time count. It's white to play. So first of all, who thinks that black benefited the most? Okay. Who thinks that white benefited the most? You see, it's a split. I'm telling you, for 100 years, they've been arguing this position. The first point is to notice is that, again, it's 3 to 2, but this pawn on e5, the defender has been eliminated, and so the question arises, can't white win a pawn by just capturing the pawn? The answer is unfortunately no. With the move queen d4, black does a double attack. He brings his queen to d4, attacks the knight on e5, attacks the pawn on e4, and when the knight retreats, black benefits in this trade. It's an even pawn, but white's king is placed in check. So we're going to go back. We're going to go back to this position. Instead of capturing the pawn immediately, white castles. Now let's analyze. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Now we're threatening to take the pawn. This is a crucial moment. In the history, the move f7, f6, defending this pawn is considered very good. Black has other moves. Bishop here, queen here, queen f6, and bishop g4. I'm going to come back to bishop g4 in a moment. I want to look at this this is what we would call the classical move, f6. Now, white plays the move d2, d4. Okay, let's continue. Black usually captures the pawn. Oops. White captures. Black captures. White captures. Now, what's the time count? What's the time count? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 4 to 3. So a moment ago, black was ahead. Suddenly, white's ahead. But it's black to move. These questions of trading and trying to get ahead in the time count are critical to your becoming chess champions. If you can understand when to make a trade and when not to make a trade, your guys are going to win a lot of games. I'm going to play black for a moment, and I'll play the move bishop g4. One of the benefits that black got from that trade on c6 is that he got a bishop against a knight. It's considered that a bishop is a little bit better. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. White to play. I'm going to play a move for yourselves. I'm going to play the move h3. Okay?
Same thing.
Just a moment. And I'm going to play for myself the move h5. Now I want you to think. Just think for a moment. You just attacked my bishop. I went, take my bishop. I ignored your threat. I challenge you to take my bishop. Think for a moment. Here comes a question. How many of you would like to take the bishop? Yes. How many of you say, I don't want to take the bishop? Well, more me, I would like to take the bishop. Okay. So first of all, can we guess what would happen if we took the bishop? Svella? Okay, let's think about that. Hold on, I'm going to be giving up a bishop, one bishop for only a pawn. Who won?
Not a fair trade.
It's so unfair for?
Black.
Yeah, he's so, I mean, that's terrible. I'm a chess grandmaster and I'm sitting here telling you guys to make that trade. You guys got a terrible teacher. Okay, you guys are ahead of the material count. I congratulate you. What's the time count? Think carefully. Think like a grandmaster. What is the time count? Young man, what do you think?
4, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 4.
How many think it's 4 to 4? Raise your hands if you think it's 4 to 4. How many of you think it's 5 to 4? Ah, the 5 to 4s have it. Why? Because as a grandmaster, even though we haven't moved our rook, we like this open file for the rook. The rook has developed without moving. Young man in the blue, yes.
Right here.
Why not? Why can't we win a pawn? Who would like to take a pawn? I don't know. Why?
H4.
Ooh. Queen H4.
That leads into a checkmate.
Does it? I'd be scared. I'd be scared of checkmate on H2, checkmate on H1. How about the move F4?
No.
Are you? G3. Ooh, G4, G3. And in this position, it's impossible in the near future to prevent checkmate. Whoa! Somebody told me it was very unfair to give up the bishop, and I checkmated in a few moves later. I won't mention any names, but I just want to say. Interesting, right? We're going to go back to this moment for just a moment, and we're going to say, would this move have been good or bad for black? Who benefits from that trade? Arsha. Because?
Because then white can develop a piece.
Yes. So after, even though the trade is even, just like this trade is even, white benefits because he gets his piece into the game. I want to thank you all for coming. I want again to challenge you. Think about your trades carefully, the even heads-up trade, and ask yourself a critical question. Who is going to benefit? All right, we'll see you next week.